Gonna mute that real quick. All right. And here we go. We're actually gonna get started here with, I make sure I get the right game up. I see. Okay, well, that just confused the heck out of me there for a second. All right, cool. Yeah, so we are actually going to get Zoe Aphelios versus Lee Sin here to start off game one.
And it's PNZ Zoe Aphelios. This is a deck that I really talked up coming into the North American seasonal. It performed okay. It did pick up a win in Europe with Victor, although I know a lot of players were saying Victor really didn't seem like it did a lot there. You can get an idea of Teal Red's deck list there. I can't read any of it. The pictures are just a little bit too small, unfortunately, when they flash these in game. But this is a really value-centric deck. From the looks of things, I don't think he's running the Tri-Beam Improbulator version. Probably just going for a more standard, which is not necessarily a word that you associate with Teal Red, but a more standard, you know, Aphelios PNZ deck. Yeah,
and starting off with the Mountain Goat as well, and on the side of BBoom with the Eye of the Dragon and the Sparkle Fly. So two elusives on both sides of the board, and honestly, gotta love having that Sparkle Fly on defense for something like Zoe. Zoe can very easily get out of control super early on in the game, but you know, we do see in the hand of Teal Red, there is a little bit of removal if we do want to go ahead and get rid of that Sparkle Fly and eventually start getting some of these Nexus Strikes in. However, there's also the Hush on backup for BBoom too, so we'll see if we do end up going for that Nexus Strike with Zoe.
Yeah, actually just going to get the first gun notified, but I do believe this means if we play a gem here, Aphelios should get that Calibrum right back, right, SJW?
You're saying Teal Red? If we play a gem, we'll get another Calibrum? Oh, yes! Yeah, I believe so. I think you're right. No, actually no, we phased in Graviton.
Phasing, right?
Yeah.
I forgot that phasing happens regardless of whether or not the card is canceled. I talk about that a lot, and this is actually the first time I think I've seen it come up. So we do get the Graviton, but that is still going to do what Teal Red wants to do.
All right, here we go. So back onto the Deep Meditation here, getting played by BBoom. And yeah, it looks like, I don't know. I mean, honestly, Teal Red already having this Aphelios on the field super early like this, I gotta say the advantage is gotta go to Teal Red right now, but we do see a Lee Sin in BBoom's hand early on as well.
Yeah, the PNZ decks don't deal with Aphelios, or with Lee Sin rather, particularly well. We don't have like the Ravenous Flock and Scorched Earth available if we do manage to slip through a Mystic Shot. And of course, you never even really want to attempt to play a Thermogenic Beam on a Lee Sin. There's just such a high potential that it gets blown out. But it does mean that BBoom Teemo is going to have to at least float a little bit of mana into the turn where we want to drop the Lee Sin. We can't just do it willy-nilly. That makes a little bit more sense. The Pursuit of Perfection in hand there for Teal Red. Definitely a Teal Red special, and we've seen a couple players on a list like this, right? There's a lot of randomly created cards in this deck. He's probably even on the Veteran Investigator. No, not Veteran Investigator. Insightful Investigator.
Yes. Yeah, you talking? Oh wait, no. Are you talking about the 2-cost draw?
No, I'm talking about the 4-mana 3/3 that draws you a fleeting card when you play a 2-cost.
Insightful. Card. That's Insightful Investigator. Yeah.
Insightful Investigator.
Veterans, the 2-cost 3/2. Each player draws 1.
Okay, so yeah, the Insightful Investigator, probably in a list like this. I remember seeing Teal Red play this a little bit on ladder and a couple of North America players as well. Generally, when I saw this deck, it was ending the game just on a value-based plan before the Pursuit ever came up. But maybe this does mean that BBoom Teemo is going to need to hang on. I want to say hang on to the deny specifically for that, but honestly, if you hush it, you can just block it.
Yeah, Hush, you know, and BBoom's still sitting on that Hush for quite some time now. And yeah, Hush is always going to be that pivotal card to kind of turn things around, especially when Teal Red does have this Zoe on field. You know, eventually it's probably going to get Hush and just run straight into it. But Teal Red can also just not attack with it, right? And that's kind of the I guess the drawback of having Hush to combat Zoe. It's not a guaranteed kill of Zoe. You still need some sort of way to remove it or block it. And right now, if Teal Red decides to not attack with Zoe, there is nothing that BBoom can actually do about it.
Why can't BBoom just challenge the Zoe?
Oh, well, Lee Sin's down in the field now. Ah, look at you. Yeah.
I thought you were saying something that I wasn't, and I actually do want to take back what I said a little bit earlier. You can't hush the pursuit. You need to deny it because it is a 1 mana unit, and there is iterative improvement in Teal Red's hand.
Yeah, iterative improvement on Pursuit of Perfection. And it's actually super awesome to see this deck finally in action with this Pursuit of Perfection too. This is not a card that we ever see in NA or EU, unless it's like kind of a meme deck, right? So to actually see this in action from Teal Red, pretty awesome. Again, Teal Red, very, very original with a lot of the decks coming out of them. And I don't know, I'm going to be pretty happy to see a Pursuit of Perfection played. If we also get the iterative improvement that you're talking about there, Boulevard, yep, going to be even more excited. Not going to lie, that's going to be pretty awesome.
All right, SJW, since you are the meme king, go ahead and tell the people at home, what is that Pursuit of Perfection counter at?
That's a funny joke, Boulevard. Maybe if this was Spectator, we might have a shot at that. So I'm trying to sit here wondering what the Zoe is at in all reality, Boulevard. I think she's at maybe 7 or 8 out of 10 at this point. So don't act like you're going through papers trying to figure out what it's actually at.
No, I'm flipping over to a notebook because if I had to guess, I'd say Teal Red is about to get his shit pushed in and is going to have to run back this deck. And then next game, I can properly count the Pursuit of Perfection count.
Yeah, not something we're actually used to even having to count, to be honest with you. The only thing that gets up towards that high of a count, too, was Maokai previously, but, you know,
yeah.
Rest in peace,
you and I
Maokai.
are also just very used to utilizing the spectator function, so it's been a while since we actually had to, like, manually track these things. And then even in the NA seasonal, I wasn't casting. I was on the analyst desk, so I didn't have to count these things. I just got to watch it play out.
Well, we'll see what BBoom decides to do here with the Lee Sin now on the field. Mentor, not really going to be great here as we did already use the attack token. It's just going to sit around and do a whole lot of nothing. I imagine we'll just get the pass back and go into Teal Red's attack turn. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get that. So we'll see what happens now for Teal Red. That is a third, count 'em 3 Pursuit of Perfections drawn by Teal Red. Wow. I don't know if you actually want all 3.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. Even if all 3 of them are live, it is still a pretty hefty mana commitment for the turn. And, just based on the fact that the Zoe didn't get to level while it was on field, I would imagine that Teal Red is actually pretty far away from getting these cats down.
It is interesting to actually see pursuits in the deck now, because especially with something like Aphelios. Aphelios inherently comes with 5 other cards technically. So all of a sudden, Pursuit of Perfection actually seems a little bit more viable than it has been in the past. I mean, there's been some other kind of weird cards that'll get additional created cards and go towards that actual condition of getting it off. But I do like this combo with Aphelios here, and we got to get at least one of these babies off.
I am pretty sure that Teal Red just dies next turn.
Yeah, it's basically 3 dead cards in hand. I mean, we have a Guiding Touch to heal up a little bit, but I think with this Lee Sin leveling, we're going to have the Zenith Blade. I think you might be right, Boulevard. We even have the Deny to technically protect us if we needed it, which right now it doesn't even look like we need the protection at this point. But yeah, I mean, Teal Red just has a whole lot of nothing right now. Does Teal Red have game? Wait, can Teal Red actually attack and possibly have lethal this turn, though?
No.
If we play the Ignition, we block with the Mentor. No, it's being at 17, we're still going to be a little ways off.
Yeah, and we're even going for the Gravitum right now to stun out the biggest bot.
Yep. Yeah, so Teal Red, unfortunately, just not gonna achieve the Pursuit of Perfection dream that we had all hoped for. It doesn't look like. I mean, there's the opportunity for Lifesteal from Severum. If we get a Severum off and go back up to 20, that's going to be 5, 6, 7. I don't actually think from 20, as it currently stands, BBoom can close out the game.
I believe they can, depending on how far that Lee Sin is from leveling. So, assuming that the Zenith Blade levels the Lee Sin, that gets us up to 7 attack. Mentor puts us at 9. So, as long as we can draw one more... Actually, no, we could even just, play the Zenith Blade, play the second Zenith Blade, get us to 10 attack. And, of course, if Teal Red does go in for the attacks here, then the gems will be enough to get us there.
That's a good point. I wasn't thinking if we do Daybreak the Zenith Blade, we'll just have the second one that comes off of it as well. But, yeah, instead... Yeah, this is not going to be it. Overwhelm is not the keyword that you want right now. I would have at least needed the Lifesteal, and yeah, we're going to get the Zenith Blade. Oh, Zenith Blade actually coming down this turn.
Yeah, I mean, it looks
won't
like
matter now.
I can't imagine that Teal Red is playing the Overwhelm gun without the intention of going in for the attack. But at the same time, like, I think that Zenith Blade is actually to deter Teal Red from attacking. Because now if you attack, I block with my Mentor, I get a 10 attack Lee Sin next turn. How do you ever stop that? Versus if you don't attack, I can only go to 9. But, you know, Teal Red not having any additional healing in hand can only get up to 18. So as it stands, BBoom has lethal next turn.
Yeah, I mean, and if Teal Red doesn't have lethal, there's no reason to attack, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you could always put together lethal another turn with Pursuit of Perfection if you ever actually get it off.
Yeah, I don't know how close Teal Red is to the Pursuit. I don't think it's as close as some people might expect. You might even be as many as like 8 or 7 cards away. Even 5 is kind of a daunting task right now. You've already played Ignition. I think that a lot of the cards in your hand have already been played before, and you can't just fire off a dud Pursuit in order to tick up the counter, unfortunately, or at least I don't think you can. In which case, Teal Red's kind of dead in the water right now, and I don't think he can set up a 1-turn lethal. I think he's got to do it over multiple turns.
Well, there's another Lee Sin off the top, and that's definitely, if we didn't have the damage, we definitely have it now. And from what we can see in Teal Red's hand, it's just not enough. There's not enough to actually prevent this would-be Lee Sin lethal here. We're even going in on the Aphelios. We're going to get the overwhelm damage at 5. This is exact lethal, actually. Then we can, okay, yeah, then we could still have the Lee Sin spell here on backup. So I think we are still golden. And it looks like Teal Red going to go ahead and dig a little bit. That's a whole lot of nothing. MK1 and Mystic Shot are not going to prevent this Dragon's Rage from going through. And it does look like UCG BBoom going to take home the Lee Sin victory. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday, too, where Lee Sin just seems like a super prevalent and successful deck in this Asian seasonal tournament.
I was really hoping that, yeah, there we go.
There's the kick.
Just a little kick, and there is game 1 going to UCG BBoom Teemo. So now I have pen and paper ready if Teal Red decides to run this deck back for game number 2.
Man, I really hope we get to see that Teemo Vi deck, though, right? I mean, that's it's definitely another creative deck. Although from the looks of it, most of his decks are creative, minus the Twiz deck. It seems like Teal Red running some pretty creative stuff.
I guess the question is, do you just want to watch him queue up creative decks for the sake of doing it before he gets absolutely ass blasted by the pillars of the format, or are we hoping that he can actually pick up a win with these?
I mean, I'm hoping he can actually pick up a win. I don't know about you. I hope he actually picks up a win, but especially with Pursuit of Perfection. I mean, when's the last time we saw that ever pick up? Have we ever seen that pick up a competitive win? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I'm a little, I guess, disillusioned to it because one of the players in my testing group for the seasonal was on this list, or at least a very similar list. So I kind of already got that one out of my system, I guess.
you got the views of it out. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we get to see it a second time here, and hopefully, like I mentioned, we'll get a victory with it. But Fizz down early for BBoom with this Twiz deck. We'll see if it does basically what it's always been doing lately, and that's just draw a lot of cards and get towards that win condition super fast and super easily. You know, Twiz obviously a good start, and so is that Mystic Shot.
This is, I mean, if you're Teal Red, do you try to remove this?
We've talked about this before, Boulevard. I don't think so.
Yeah, but like, would you do it?
No, I would do that. I would hover it and then pull it back and go, nah, there's probably a Poro Cannon in hand.
I don't really mind this, though, because I don't think this is a matchup where your Thermo Beam is really getting an insane amount of value. So forcing a discard out of your opponent, you're still kind of trading a card for a card in that regard.
Well, and it's a really untimely Poro Cannon, right? Like, BBoom did not want it. We had a stress testing in hand. We could have gotten a lot more value out of that in turns to come. Yeah. And we actually didn't do the stress testing because we wouldn't have gotten the utilization of that card, that fleeting card. So, yeah, no, it's not terrible, but, man, it's such a bait.
Definitely try it again, right?
I mean, yes, now the odds are in your favor. The odds are heavily in your favor.
Even if I throw out my MK1,
you still have a Mystic.
And it gets negated by a Poro Cannon, then my opponent's hand is 2 Poros and 1 unknown card, and I feel like that's a pretty fine spot for me to be in. I think what Teal Red is also debating is the potential of maybe an iterative improvement down onto this Daring Poro.
Yeah, we might kind of be well. So an iterative improvement onto the that's not terrible. I mean, it does, especially if we are going to get rid of the fizz. I'd say open maybe with the MK1, and if you do get rid of the fizz, then yeah, iterative improvement feels like a really good play there. But if we do it, the problem is we can't get all 3 down in one turn.
Yeah, and it looks like we're actually just going for a kill on the ballistic bot.
Yeah, wow. Okay. So I guess, I mean, from the way that I'm looking at it, maybe Teal Red is just trying to really reduce the amount of options that BBoom has. You know, if there is some sort of draw that comes off the top, like a rummage, now we don't have that discard fodder in the ignition to really do much. But I don't know. I'm not crazy about that, though, because on the flip side, in Teal Red's hand, there's a whole lot of nothing. I mean, we have to iterative improvement now because it's literally the only good play that we have.
I think most of it was actually trying to keep BBoom Teemo's options limited. Ignition is one of the key tools in actually accelerating both your fizz level up as well as your countdown on your wiggly burblefish. And when your opponent only has 2 cards in hand, if you can kill the ballistic bot, then they're actually going to struggle to, you know, hit you with that late game burblefish swarm, you know, down the road. So I think that Teal Red's just kind of looking towards a couple turns down the lane and saying, this is how I stop myself from randomly dying and just keeping both of us low on cards.
Yeah, and as much as you may be right about that, Boulevard, on the flip side for Teal Red, we don't have any kind of response after the fact. Like, great, we have a Zoe, and it's staring down 3 Daring Poros. Like, there's a whole lot of nothing now on the side of Teal Red. So even though we were able to succeed at kind of limiting the options of BBoom, now these iteratives off the top, there's a fleet of Daring Poros on the field now. It's not looking good for Teal Red.
This is a little awkward for sure. I mean, we can hush one of the 2/2s and block it with our ballistic bot, and I guess you don't hate that. You can even throw the MK2 at the other one. So we are actually starting to get the board back a little bit. We're going to actually start pushing more damage at BBoom Teemo than they're pushing at us. You know, I don't think that BBoom Teemo is really going to want to be blocking this ballistic bot. We've also got the ignitions coming through, but already having the life advantage on the side of BBoom Teemo has to feel good. And I've talked about this time and time again. When you're both sitting here and you're on bad hands, that is extremely favorable for the TF Fizz deck because all it takes is one pick a card top deck and they run away with the game if you try to make it 0-sum.
Yeah, TF Fizz kind of has a lot of better, a lot of good top decks compared to most decks. Like you said, pick a card. We have Rummage. Even Twisted Fate himself is a pretty decent top deck, 2-for-1 most of the time. So even that Zonite Urchin alone with stress testing in hand, amazing. And wow, there's the chain reaction now.
That might as well be the game.
Oh, wow. And that's how it works too, right? You just get that one draw and it gets you the next draw and then that next draw and then it's just a domino effect and it snowballs out of control. You're just drawing your whole deck and it's really hard, you know, on the side of Teal Red to come back from something like that. And it's really unfortunate because Teal Red, a great player, but you can see here, super quick 2-0 from UCG BBoom. I mean, maybe I'm calling it a little too early here, but this is looking like it's pretty open and shut.
I don't think this is calling it early. I think when your opponent you're both sitting on relatively the same resources, you're down on life. Your opponent, you know, suddenly draws 4 cards for a turn and is very likely, as you had mentioned, to continue snowballing that draw effect through rummages or additional pick of cards or a Twisted Fate or anything like that. And Teal Red doesn't have a powerhouse finisher. We are very far away from actually getting a Pursuit of Perfection down and even further away based on the fact that we're top decking.
Yeah, man. I hate when people try to play a card like Pursuit of Perfection and then they get like they make it this far and then when it's like you're on the big stage, you're in the top 8 and then your deck with 3 Pursuit of Perfection just gets completely walloped twice in a row by UCG BBoom here. It just feels really bad. And
this might even just be, you know, the mind meld.
This is game with mind meld, I think. Yep. And I don't know what it's at for sure. It's going to be at least, even if it's at 5, even if it's at 4, I think that's game. So
it could be at 3.
Yeah. So it does look like UCG BBoom going to make it pretty far here. And Boulevard, again, that was your pick, right?
Yeah, UCG BBoom Teemo was one of my 2 picks to win the Asian seasonal.
See, you just confused me for a second there. I was thinking that It sounded like you said Teemo was your pick to win seasonal, like a Teemo deck. No. I know how much you love Teemo, Boulevard.
Yeah, that's some big fan. Big fan of the little rat bastard.
There it is. UCG BBoom taking game 2, 2-0 versus Teal Red.